Enjoying this day as much as most people, Prof. What do you think of this? I mean, I'm overwhelmed here. I mean, it's an incredible day.
I do, Jeff. Obviously, the American experiment in democracy is a very complex one. We all know that because this is a country that enslaved your and my ancestors for several centuries. It's a country in which we saw last summer here the death of George Floyd and the death of many others, leading to the protests that we saw there. So it's a very complex democracy, but it's also, I should say, one of the most important states in terms of when it acts and responds to its better angels. It's a country that can do wonderful things because to create this experiment where everyone essentially is an immigrant except for Native Americans who are here, to create such a vast, large, complex country and to make a democracy out of it, no matter how imperfect, as Joe Biden said earlier today, it's a wonderful human achievement. And so for me, what I see is a journey of human courage. I see a journey of human possibility. And today what I see is an attempt to renew that journey, which was obviously desecrated 2 weeks ago. I think that's very important to know.
Yeah.
And I think I should add here, Jeff, that as I said, when America responds to its best angels, it can do some of its best works. You had asked me earlier, what does this mean for Kenya, for Africa, and for other countries? You've seen already Joe Biden say that he's going to reverse some of the policies that were going to be detrimental or have been very detrimental to African states, including some states which are majority Muslim states.
I was actually gonna ask you that, Prof. Kenya has enjoyed warm relations with the U.S. for many years, over the decades. However, it seems like only when a Republican administration is in office is when Kenya enjoys even more cordial relationships. Correct me if I'm wrong. Remember George W. Bush, PEPFAR, huge, bilaterals with Kenya. When Barack Obama came in after that, not as much. Even Trump's administration, there was a lot going on with the FTA, the Free Trade Agreement and other deals. So how does it look going forward with the democratically controlled U.S.?
Well, first of all, I should say that that particular narrative is not entirely correct. Because I think the U.S. president cannot do much on their own. They have to work with the Congress, especially, to pass and to enact foreign policies that are beneficial to the countries in question. So I know that that's a talking point that Republicans, like to advance, that Africa and the developing world have been better off under Republicans than under Democrats. I just don't buy it. What I would like to say, quite frankly, is that now we are looking at, for example, the negotiations over the U.S. Kenya trade agreement, and there are some provisions in that agreement, in that draft agreement, that concern me, especially including the one that would see Kenya receive plastics from the United States, or what I would call garbage from the United States. I think that is something that the Biden administration should reverse. And perhaps even hold off on that particular agreement, so that African regional economic blocs or Africa as an economic bloc can negotiate a trade agreement with the United States instead of one country jumping the queue to negotiate its own agreement with the United States. Don't forget that, Jeff, that this particular agreement I'm talking about was negotiated under a Republican administration, and I don't think its terms are that favorable, to Kenya. I think what's important for us to focus on, essentially, is to focus on not on aid from the United States, which is essentially what George Bush was doing with Kenya, but is to focus on on fair trade between Kenya and the United States and also other African countries, where, for example, Kenya and other African countries can make money, from fair trade, removal of tariff barriers and other trade restrictions to Kenya. We cannot perpetually, Jeff, continue to come to Washington with a begging bowl. The way is, of course, we've gone to China with a begging bowl, and now we are knee-deep in debt to China. This is a risk and a big danger to our sovereignty. So I would simply say that no, we're not interested in handouts. We want free and fair trade so that we can make money for which we are not beholden to anyone.
Yeah, looking at the next few years, Prof, at least, with Democrats controlling the House for at least a minimum of 2 years, do you think a lot will be done? Is Biden's work cut out for him? Because there's so much to undo that was done by Trump. So much undoing or righting of wrongs, if you will.
Yeah, so there's a question really of executive orders, okay, which I think you referred to, Jeff, earlier. This is where the president can, using his presidential authority under the Constitution, promulgate policies, that can have effect both in the United States but also abroad, especially in the area of foreign policy. A lot of the actions that Trump took were, in fact, executive orders, which can be reversed and will be reversed by fiat by the new president. But I think for large projects, infrastructure, the United States has at least 12 million undocumented people who need a path to citizenship. They are dreamers, so-called dreamers. These are young people who are brought to the United States as children and who essentially have no status in the United States. If Trump tried to destroy their status, I believe that Joe Biden is going to reverse that. But the larger question here that I want to address is the question of giving a path of citizenship to these 11 million undocumented people in the United States, a large number of whom, in fact, are Kenyans, and who have children here, children who are born here, who themselves have lived here for a long time, and who are, who pay taxes to this economy and who contribute to the American economy. So Joe Biden has already said that he's going to be addressing that particular question. And so that's a big one. He will need congressional cooperation to do that. There's, of course, the pandemic. He has proposed a $1.9 trillion package to deal with the pandemic and to deal with other issues related to the pandemic. That, of course, will require congressional cooperation. The good news for him is that the Democrats control the Senate, but just by a bare majority, just because Kamala Harris, the vice president, will be able to break the tie, because the Senate is now held 50-50 between Democrats and Republicans, but the vice president is one who presides, and so therefore she'll be able to break the tie. This is vitally important, and that's why I said earlier that the first 2 years of the Biden administration will determine whether he succeeds or fails in his agenda.
Yeah, I totally agree, Prof. I totally agree. Listen, real quick about President Donald Trump. Do you think the Senate, because in his final speech, he left some room, said, "We'll see you soon," and he left that kind of open. You think the Senate should go ahead and impeach him so that they prevent him from being involved, if anything, from any future elections?
So let us just say, Jeff, that you know the United States very well. You were a very senior reporter here for many years. You know the kind of thing that Trump did. Forget about the last 4 years, which were just a trail of wreckage in his wake. But the last thing that he did, to mobilize and to incite that mob, to go and sack the Capitol, is something that you have never seen in the United States. It's an act of sedition by a sitting president. It's a coup d'etat, an attempted coup d'etat by a sitting president. There is no way that Trump can be let off the hook for such a horrible, egregious action against the United States. So yes, you saw that the House under Pelosi, impeached him very quickly. a snap impeachment, as some have called it. He'll be tried in the Senate. I think the Republicans in the Senate really want to see him get off the political stage, so that he can no longer, hold that party, in his grip. And if the Republicans do not participate in removing him in the trial in the Senate, and then taking an additional vote to bar him from ever holding office, you can be assured that the future of the Republican Party will be in peril because of him. Already, Mr. Trump has talked about forming what he's calling the Patriot Party, which is a party of these people who are crazy to the extreme right. Okay, he can take those people and go away. Because in a democracy, we need at least two functioning, sober political parties. And I, for one, would like to see a Republican Party that returns to its principles that it held in the 80s and the 70s. Not this crazy, outfit that has been overtaken by white supremacists, by racists, by Semites, and just by thugs. Of course, I must say, I want to disclose here that I'm a Democrat. I don't vote for the Republican Party. I've never voted for it. But I think, the democracy needs one party that is slightly to the left or to the left, and one party that is slightly to the right. But not a crazy political party that is an extremist political party populated by white supremacists.
Hey, Prof, final question. I'm sure you read the New York Times today. There's an article, then, op-ed, saying Kenya's Building Bridges Initiative, a lesson for America. Do you see that?
Yeah, I saw that. I thought it was a joke. I thought it was a very poor joke. So in America, constitutional amendments, which I think is perhaps what the fellow is talking about, are very laborious affairs. I cannot see a situation whereby a constitutional amendment would be put forward right now that would actually pass. I think there are a lot of laws in place. There's a lot of work to be done in the state legislatures, but also in the federal legislature and the Congress, to address some of the issues that bedevil the United States. The problem of the United States is not a problem of the failure of the state. Okay, that's not the problem. The problem of the United States is the problem of the capture of one political party by extremists, by white supremacists. And you don't solve that problem through a constitutional amendment. So I don't think there's a place for BBI in the United States. I thought that was, I thought it was proof. When I saw it, I thought it was a kind of a joke. So no, I don't think so, Jeff.
All right, Prof. Final question. The Chief Justice job is open here in Kenya. Are you interested? Maraga just retired.
Well, Jeff, why do you always put me, in a tight corner like this every time we speak? I know that you always have one final question that is meant to knock me out. No, right now I'm not giving it any thought. I've not actually thought about it. That does not mean that I will not think about it, because I think there is some time to think about it. What I think it's important is for the country to get a Chief Justice who is resolute, who is going to guard its independence, who is going to purge corruption, both in the executive, in the legislature, but also in the judiciary. So I think that's very important. We do not need a person who has no courage or a person who is compromised. We need a person who is independent, who is a great thinker, but also a great leader and a great visionary for the judiciary. And so, we'll be looking at it. I don't know what the final decision is going to be. Obviously, my family will be involved in evaluating all the options on the table.
Yep, applications are open, Prof, so it's never too late. Prof.
Yeah, I may, if I apply, I may seek your recommendation, Jeff.
Prof, always good to see you, my friend. Thank you so much, and congratulations on a great day in America.
Good to see you, and I hope that the vaccine is here, by the way. So I'm slated to get the vaccine in the next 2 weeks, and after I get it, I'll be able to travel back to Kenya to see you guys.
All right, Professor Makau Mutua, thank you so much, sir. Appreciate that, Prof.
Thank you so much.
Former Dean of the School of Law at the State University of New York in Buffalo, New York. About a 6-hour drive from the nation's capital. Is this where we're going?